Part 20. After the Flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 191. Chapter 191 Revenge Duo 2. Qian Yuman and Tang Xingai's master and apprentice named this strategy, the big plan to make the old pervert's heart cool and fly. The purpose is very simple, to let Chairman Lao Se Machi know the meaning of the phrase "How can you not keep your shoes wet if you often walk by the river?" Chairman Chi, who had been poured wolfberry, yam, and pork rib soup all over his body, could not avoid taking a shower and changing clothes to wash off the soup all over his body. The Tang family was also searching for the murderer in a symbolic sense. In fact, everyone already knew who the murderer was, but they did not dare to say that it was the third young master of the Tang family who did it. This would damage the friendship between the two families, so naturally they found a scapegoat. As for Qian Yuman, this is a headache for the Tang family. Strictly speaking, Qian Yuman was a tutor hired by Tang Xingai personally. Even if Tang Xingai beat him to death, he would not allow them to hand over Qian Yuman. Otherwise, he would run out and say that it was him who did it, and that this matter was under Director Kai's control. If you want to molest your tutor, how can you turn her over? The Tang family couldn't defeat Tang Xingai, so they had to find a servant to pretend. The more Tang Xingai thought about it, the angrier he became. He immediately pulled Qian Yuman to the room where Chairman Qi was taking a shower. They each held a large bottle of fenjujing in their hands. Tang Xingai took the lead, Qian Yuman followed him and sneaked into the guest room. Hearing a sound, Tang Xingai stopped and looked around to see if there was anyone else. Qian Yuman, who was following behind, pushed him gently. "Let's go," Qian Yuman urged in a low voice. Tang Xingai, an experienced thief, covered his mouth with his hand and gestured around to see if there were others. Under the observation of the two people, they determined that no one saw them come in and no one else was in the room. Like thieves, the two of them leaned on the bathroom door and eavesdropped on what was going on inside. When they heard Chairman Qi humming a song inside, they were sure they had found their target. The two exchanged cunning looks in each other's eyes again, turned the doorknob gently, and slipped in quietly. At this moment, Chairman Qi was taking a bath in the 2-meter-wide bathtub, with his back to them, humming and singing a song about running away. He was already in a good mood after being comforted by the Tang family. Has no idea that Qian Yuman and others have slipped in. Qian Yuman pointed to the bathtub. After receiving the instruction, Tang Xingai immediately slipped over carefully and poured a large bottle of fenju essence into the bathtub. Qian Yuman was not idle either, pouring the essential oil into towels, bathrobes, paper towels, and wherever Chairman Qi could reach them. Everything was done in just 10 seconds, and the two of them slipped away quietly. Slowly closing the bathroom door, they did not leave immediately, but leaned on the door to listen for reactions. Bah! A gasp was heard, followed by Chairman Kai's countless curses. "It's so spicy, so spicy. What's going on? Why is my whole body suddenly stinging and my eyes hurt?" Chairman Qi immediately jumped out of the bathtub. As soon as he came out, his body stained with fenjujing became even cooler. He quickly jumped out of the bathtub. I rushed out of the bathtub, grabbed a towel and wiped my face. Qian Yuman poured half a bottle of fenjujing into the towel. It was stronger than the diluted bath, and it felt more sour when rubbed on the face. At this time, the stimulation brought by fenjujing directly covered the whole body. Even the uncertain parts of the body felt burning and painful. I couldn't open my eyes. A gust of wind blew me all over. I felt worse than death. The sound of killing pigs kept coming. It flowed from his mouth. Chairman Qi went crazy, and the fat on his body trembled even more disgustingly. If I can make it into the top 20 today, I will update 5 chapters I have to update even though I am sick. Come on. I didn't make it into the top 20, so I will take a rest today and continue to recuperate and write 3 more chapters. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 192. Chapter 192, The Scheming Green Tea Bitch. Chairman Chi went crazy. The fat on his body became more disgusting as he shook. He kept groping for something to relieve the pain on his body. As a result, the pain became more and more painful, and he wanted to faint immediately. Qian Yuman and Tang Xingai, who were peeking outside the door, ran away laughing. It would be nice if they saw a little bit. They would rush out later. They didn't want to see the fat Chairman Chi running naked. As soon as Qian Yuman and the others left, the servants who rushed over after hearing the noise found Chairman Chi, who was in great pain, and tried their best to help him solve the problem. Chairman Chi finally took several showers to wash away most of the wind oil essence from his body. His eyes were also red, swollen, and bloodshot from the heat, and he looked very embarrassed. Chairman Kai's tragic story immediately spread throughout the Tang family. Everyone knew that Chairman Chi had a large bottle of fenjujing poured into him while he was taking a bath, and he almost went to the hospital. The murderer of Tai Fenjujing has not been found, and there are no witnesses. We don't know the murderer's purpose of attacking Chairman Chi, and the investigation can't figure out the reason for a while. Chairman Chi was very angry. It was the first time that the Tang dynasty family was in such a bad situation. Although he was very angry, there was nothing he could do. He couldn't really expose the Tang dynasty family and find the murderer. Even if he wanted to, would the Tang family allow him to mess around at home? In the end, you can only swallow the pain. Chairman Chi still felt uncomfortable all over, his eyes were red and his face was ugly. Tang Yuj, the chairman of the reception pool, looked at the fat man in front of him. His face was calm and a little carefree, with an evil smile on his face, but he was already laughing inside. Chairman Chi took his daughters Chi Yuking and Tang Yuj to say goodbye. "Uncle Chi, are you going back?" Tang Yuj's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect this. "Yuja, let's talk about what we want to talk about today next time. Look at me like this, I'm not in the mood to talk to you about the wedding." Chairman Chi looked at himself with a wry smile, and felt his chrysanthemums blowing when he said a word. "Cool breeze." "Wedding?" Tang Yuj raised his eyebrows slightly. "Ha ha ha, okay, don't be depressed. I have to go back and take a bath right away now that my whole body is burning and uncomfortable. I won't disturb you in the Tang dynasty family." Chairman Chi is not in the mood at all now. He can't find the murderer and is still feeling uncomfortable. He doesn't want to continue to embarrass himself in front of a group of people. He is always blushing now. Chi Yuking looked at Tang Yuj with some reluctance, and finally left with his father. "Brother Yu, see you next time." Tang Yuj nodded a little indifferently. Chi Yuking lowered her head in disappointment. After turning around and leaving, her pitiful expression immediately turned into a fierce and ferocious look, and she gritted her teeth. Damn it, how did the situation develop like this? She was about to go home without saying a few words to Brother Yu. She was obviously looking forward to today. Knowing that Grandma Tang was going to talk about the engagement, she was excited from yesterday to today. As a result, it wasn't because of the tutor, they were talking about marriage now. Damn it! After coming out of Tang Yuj's room just now, the figure of Qian Yuman kept appearing in Chi Yuking's mind. She was curious about what kind of foxy girl seduced her brother Yu. Knowing yourself and your enemy, you are always victorious, so you told your father that Qian Yuman was very beautiful. His father, who was greedy for young and beautiful women, naturally went to find out. Thought she would embarrass that foxy girl, but she actually resolved the problem and made her father very embarrassed. Eventually, he was not in the mood to talk about marriage. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 193. Chapter 193, Kiss Before Standing Up. Now that her father is not in the mood, he insists on dragging her back, putting the marriage on hold for the time being, which also makes the father and daughter feel worse, which is simply not worth the gain. Had she known that the result would be like this, she should have lifted up her vixen mask as a royal wife to see what she looked like to seduce Brother Yu. The more I think about it, the more Chi Yuking hates Teacher Mei. She must be driven away from Brother Yu, and she must not be allowed to take Brother Yu away. With Chairman Kai's incident making a big fuss, Qian Yuman and Tang Xingai were naturally not in the mood to continue the class. They chatted lively about how they had just treated each other, and in the end, they felt like they had known each other for a long time, and they hid in the study room laughing and joking. The door suddenly opened, and Tang Yuj barged in with a slightly ugly face. When he saw Qian Yuman and Tang Xingai smiling happily, they both laughed together, and the expression on his face softened. "Follow me." Tang Yuj walked directly to Qian Yuman, stretched out his hand and pulled her away, leaving Tang Xingai confused. "What's the situation? Big brother and teacher Qian. Do they know each other? Or have they already hooked up behind his back? Aren't they both married to each other? Can this be messed up? The world of adults is too complicated." Tang Yuj took Qian Yuman to his room, closed the door and locked it, looked her up and down first to make sure she was okay, and gently put her in his arms. "I heard that you were molested." Tang Yuj's voice was cold, and invisible anger was burning, not at her, but at Chairman Kai's evil deeds. "It's okay," Qian Yuman said with a smile. The fat man didn't succeed at that time, but she managed to escape without any danger. "I was scared to death. I just heard the servant say that you were molested by that old gangster, and he almost rushed to kill him." Tang Yuj was frightened for a while, and held her tightly in his arms. But thinking about what the servant said next, he couldn't help but have a doting smile on his face. "You must be the one causing trouble for the stinky gangster who was poisoned with Fenjujing later." Qian Yuman laughed and stuck out her tongue to reject it. "I am innocent, that was all done by little brother Tang. It's not her. She is so simple and kind, how could she come up with such a bad idea?" Tang Yuj's eyes were full of smiles. "Okay. I believe your majesty. I'm just a bit of a cheap bastard. This kind of treatment is harmless and not exciting enough. He dares to flirt with my woman. It seems that his life is too comfortable." A faint smile appeared on the corner of Qian Yuman's lips, and her heart felt sweet because of his words. She was about to hug Tang Yuj back, but she was angered by his next words. "Originally, I called Kai's father and daughter to talk about the engagement today, but before they even started, tragedy happened and they left," Tang Yuj said with some regret. Qian Yuman's face instantly turned dark. Gritting her teeth, she raised her foot and kicked the front bone of his calf hard as she could chew. Tang Yuj wailed and fell to the ground exaggeratedly, rolling on the ground holding his calves. "It's going to be broken, my leg is going to be broken, what a cruel woman." Qian Yuman looked down at the tall man rolling on the ground with a cold face. He was 1.88 meters tall, pretending to be cute on the ground. As expected, Mr. Tang is shameless and invincible. "Ouch, Mr. Tang is in pain, do you want me to comfort him?" He nodded repeatedly and made further requests. "I want a kiss from my wife before I stand up." Tang Yuj had a painful expression, rolling around on the ground with his hands and feet in his arms, crying and crying for a kiss and a hug. "Ha ha ha. Today's ranking has taken another big step forward. Our goal this week is to be in the top 20. Seeing as we have made great progress today, tomorrow will be even better at 5. I'm almost in good health, and I'll make up for the missed updates tomorrow. So, don't keep your recommendation votes, throw them away." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 194. Chapter 194 The Mysterious Mr. Tang. Qian Yuman rolled her eyes at him. Mr. Tang's nature was to be shameless and to act cute and coquettishly. Sure enough, she had underestimated him before. "Who is your wife? I want to kiss and find your fiancé." He rolled his eyes angrily at the gangster on the ground. Thinking of seeing Tang Yuj touching Qi Yuking's head today, his mood became worse and worse. The worse it got, the more he wanted to ignore Tang Yuj, and then he strode open the door and left. My wife? What an injustice. The reason why I called the old gangster here today is to talk about the dissolution of the engagement. It's not the two of you who are causing trouble. Both Yuking and I have already dissolved our marriage. Tang Yuj shouted and roared, but Jian Yuman had already run away with her cheeks puffed up. She didn't hear Tang Yuj's explanation, thinking that he was reluctant to break off the engagement and was feeling depressed alone. An hour later, Chairman Qi suddenly disappeared from his villa. It took 3 hours from the disappearance to the discovery. No one knows how Chairman Qi disappeared or where he went. When Chairman Qi opened his eyes again, he was covered in blood, wearing strange equipment, the wind was whistling in his ears, and his hair was messed up by the wind. When he saw the situation clearly, his legs became weak with fear. He was at a high altitude at the moment, with the endless sea in front of him. He was standing in a large helicopter, and all he could see was the vast sea. Wasn't he taking a bath in the bath at home just now? Why do you appear above the sea when you open your eyes? Then he found that his hands were grabbed behind his back, and he instinctively twisted his body to get free. A cold voice sounded. I would like to remind you that if you move any further, you will fall. Chairman Qi was so frightened that he did not dare to move any more. His body was stiff and his voice was trembling. Who are you? Why did you arrest me here? The bodyguard who was escorting Chairman Qi turned him around so that he no longer had to look at the sea from a high altitude. Chairman Kai's legs softened and he knelt down on the ground. Then he was in the mood to look at his captor. The helicopter was not small. The person speaking stood about 1 meter away from him with his back facing him. He was wearing an expensive suit, which suggested that he was either rich or noble. He quickly looked at the helicopter and immediately recognized the large logo on the aircraft. It was a logo unique to the Emgrand Group. There are only 10 aircraft with this logo in the world, and only 2 of them are helicopters. The aircraft belong to Emgrand Group Chairman and Group President. Chairman Qi looked around and saw a distinguished man sitting on the sofa. The man was holding red wine in his hand and tasting it, looking at him with pity. Chairman Qi immediately recognized this person's identity. It was Murong Ye, the global CEO of the Emgrand Group. President Murong, what are you doing? Chairman Qi screamed and shouted when he saw the familiar figure. Murong Ye looked at him sympathetically and pointed at the man standing with his back to Chairman Qi. I don't want to do anything. What can I want to do? I just come to watch the show. Poor Lao Qi. It's up to you. Stupid or not, I don't want to mess with anyone. I have to mess with people I shouldn't mess with. Now I'm fine, something has happened. I can't help you this time. I still want to continue working for others. Please ask for your own blessings. Don't beg me. It's useless to beg me. You will only make things difficult for me. Knowing that I will do a lot of extreme things after I'm in trouble, so who is that person? Chairman Qi immediately interrupted Murong Ye and continued talking. He had been in contact with Murong Ye before and knew that he could talk nonsense alone for a long time. He could talk stand-up comedy for an hour without interrupting him. He was known as President Tang Seng. Murong Ye sighed, looking like a child who cannot be taught. This time you provoked my immediate boss, so I can't save you. Boss. Murong Ye's boss. Chairman Kai's heart skipped a beat. He could immediately guess who Murong Ye's immediate boss was. Mirongye is already the CEO of the Emgrand Group. He has a higher status than him. The only person who pays his salary is the real boss behind the Emgrand Group, the mysterious Mr. Tang. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 195. Chapter 195 Just to scare him. 1. There are very few people in the business world who know Mr. Tang's real name. He rarely appears in the public eye, so everyone only knows that there is a big boss behind the Emgrand Group, Mr. Tang, but they don't know his full name. Emgrand Group is the sixth richest group in the world. It mainly focuses on catering, tourism and entertainment industries. It has opened resorts and amusement parks all over the world. The most famous one is Emgrand Hotel. People like to go to places where they spend money and have fun. Mr. Tang, chairman of the Emgrand Group, holds 60% of the shares, not to mention that he has some shares in other enterprise groups. He ranks 8th in the wealth rankings. He is such a top rich man, with his identity, appearance, and name a mystery. Unexpectedly, the mysterious Mr. Tang was the person standing with his back to him. Judging from his dress, he was a young man. In the past, there was a lot of speculation about Mr. Tang's age in the business community, but they didn't expect him to dress so young. Mr. Tang, what are you doing? Why are you tying me here? Although Chairman Chi was worried at the moment, after all, the high-ranking wealthy businessman gradually calmed down and negotiated in a good voice. Unexpectedly, Mr. Tang did not want to do anything. I have no intention of negotiating with him. The most pitiful person in the world is about to die but doesn't know why. Mr. Tang, who was standing with his back to Chairman Chi, spoke. While drinking champagne, he looked at the distant scenery. He seemed to be in a good mood, but doing things that make people cringe. Chairman Chi was frightened to death when he heard this. When did he offend Mr. Tang? Why didn't he know about it at all? He is going to die soon? Why? Mr. Tang, how have I, Chi, offended you and need you to kill me and silence me? Do it, Mr. Tang ordered coldly. Hearing the word action, Chairman Chi knew that he was serious and really wanted to kill him. No. I don't want to die. After all, I am also the chairman of the Chi Group and have a certain status in the world. Aren't you afraid of the consequences of killing me? My family will definitely get to the bottom of it. Chairman Chi is very afraid of death. He can feel that Mr. Tang really wants to kill him. His whole body is full of murderous aura, which is scary. The chairman of the huge group who has always been aloof, but his life is in the hands of the mysterious Mr. Tang in front of him. Mr. Tang was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. He threw the champagne in his hand on the ground. The bodyguard immediately received the order and threw Chairman Chi from the plane. Oh! It's so pitiful. He died immediately without knowing the reason. Let me tell you, it's only your fault, you old pervert, for teasing my boss woman today. As Mirongye finished speaking, Chairman Chi was also kicked off the helicopter, and he heard the cause of his death in extreme horror. It turns out that the tutor I met at Tang's house today is Mr. Tang's woman. No wonder Mr. Tang, who has never had any contact with her, wants him dead. The huge body fell rapidly, very fast, and the flesh on the face was twisted and flying. The figure who had been standing with his back to Chairman Chi slowly turned around, and it was Chi En-Yuman's newlywed husband Tang Yuj. At this moment, there was a faint smile on his lips, with traces of evil and cruelty in his eyes, looking at the rapidly falling figure. Chairman Chi, until it slowly turns into a small dot. Chairman Chi just knew that he was going to die. He was frightened to death. How could he tell from the voice that Mr. Tang was his future son-in-law Tang Yuj? Thank you, my dear concubines, for ranking more than a dozen times in just 2 days, and now we are in the top 20, okay. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 196. Chapter 196. Just to scare him too. As Chairman Chi negotiated the time, they flew to an area that was no longer an endless sea, but over a small island. Chairman Chi was quickly falling towards the island. Murongye stood up from the sofa and looked at Chairman Chi, who had turned into a small dot. He was a little gloating, a little excited, and a little eager to try. He wanted to jump down and play. Murongye watched Chairman Chi falling with a smile and shouted excitedly, "Boss, this is almost over." Tanyuj raised his eyebrows, walked to Murongye, put his arm around his shoulders and looked down. "Here you go." A small controller appeared in Tanyuj's right hand and he threw it into Murongye's hand. Murongye took a look and returned it to him with a smile. This was the long parachute button tied to Director Chi. "You, the pervert, should enjoy such exciting things slowly. He is a coward, so he leaves such exciting things to the big boss for fun." Tanyuj smiled evilly, pointed his thumb at the red dot in the middle and pressed it lightly. Chairman Chi was falling rapidly. When he was less than 100 meters away from the island, the equipment that had been bound to him was opened under the control of Tanyuj, struggling to bear the huge body of Chairman Chi. Chairman Chi, who thought he was dead, felt his body suddenly lighten up, and his body no longer fell rapidly. He opened his eyes in fear, and found that the one he had tied to his body was Lui. He won't die. After buffering for a distance, he slowly fell onto the island. The island is very small, only 2 or 3 kilometers in size. They were at an altitude of 300 meters just now. How difficult it is to accurately fall into the island from such a high altitude. However, Chairman Chi just happened to fall on the island, instead of falling into the sea. Awesome, Murongye gave Tanyuj 2 thumbs up when he saw that Chairman Chi had just landed on the island. Just to scare him, Tanyuj smiled brightly and accepted Murongye's admiring look. The helicopter landed at an altitude of tens of meters and clearly saw the situation on the island. Murongye looked at the island with a grin. Chairman Kai's clothes had been stripped off. His fat body made people do evil. He was still naked and lying on his back. There was still some yellow liquid on his body. He must be high. I was so frightened that I peed when I was in the air. Now I am so scared that I can't even stand up. I look very embarrassed. Big boss, you are so powerful, this will work, but I have no confidence at all. If this is a little off, you will fall into the sea. There are no ships on the sea, and you will definitely die if you fall into the sea. This is the biggest difference in IQ between you and me. I use his weight of 200 kilograms as a benchmark. He was 300 meters above sea level just now, so he fell. Tanyuj rattled off a lot of calculations, and used his of learning brain to tell Murongye that he had calculated the weight of Chairman Chi, how high he would fly, plus the weather, wind, and other issues. How could he be surprised? Scaring Chairman Chi to death without risk, but not killing him. Finally, he regretfully asked why the calculation was so accurate. Murongye shuddered. Fortunately, he was not the enemy of the big boss. Otherwise, if he offended him, he would not die, and he would be scared to death. Fortunately, he hadn't tried such an exciting game just now. He didn't think too much about it. When the controller was in his hands, Chairman Bhnchy was already a corpse. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 197. Chapter 197 being followed. This time Chairman Chi was treated badly. He was thrown from a high altitude and frightened half to death. This was not the end yet. He was thrown onto an uninhabited island and found that Chairman Chi was missing from the Chi family, and they kept using their relationship to find him. But no matter how they searched, they couldn't find Chairman Chi, and it was as if he had disappeared from the world. I don't even think about it. Tang Yuge, the chairman of Genchi, personally kidnapped the person this time, flew the person directly to the island in a helicopter, and then flew away without leaving any clues. The Chi family had no way of finding him. Can only find a needle in a haystack. It wasn't until 2 days and 2 nights later that a note appeared in the office of Chairman Kai's group, clearly stating the specific coordinates of Chairman Chi. When the Chi family members found the island, they saw Chairman Chi, who had lost a lot of weight. There is no fresh water on the island. It has been sunny and windy for the past few days and there has been no rain. So we can only rely on some wild fruits on the island to satisfy our hunger. The wild fruits were very sour and unpalatable. I didn't eat properly for 2 days and 2 nights. Chairman Chi lost a lot of weight in 2 days, but the total amount was there. He was still so fat after 2 days of starvation. There was no clothes to wear on the island, only leaves, sea water and sand. Fortunately, I jumped down with a parachute. He cut a small piece of parachute cloth to cover his body, and covered himself with the parachute cloth to keep warm at night, so that when his family came to find him, he would not be naked with nothing on. But these are all things for later. Qian Yuman left home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't give Tang Xingai anything throughout the whole day. Qi Lili drove nearby to pick her sister up early. She was a foodie and pestered her sister to eat the meal she cooked by herself. Qian Yuman, who often walked alone at night, felt keenly that someone was following her. She walked and stopped, and there was a person behind her who walked at exactly the same pace as her, and looked around strangely. Fortunately, her sister came to pick her up today, and she was not far away. She ran away and ran quickly to where her sister's car was. As she ran, she glanced back. The man who was following her also ran after her while she was running. Sure enough, she wasn't overthinking it. Qi Lili's car stopped just 100 or 200 meters away from the Tang dynasty family, and she ran there in no time. Open the door quickly and get in the car in one go. After getting in the car, he slumped down on the back seat, holding his lower abdomen gently with one hand and covering his chest with the other while breathing heavily. I ran too fast just now, and my lower abdomen hurts. Qi Lili's usually indifferent expression turned into worry. Sister, why are you running in such a hurry? He quickly glanced at his sister's slightly pale face and frowned dissatisfied. Have you forgotten that you are pregnant? You are running around after just over a month, and you don't know how to walk slower. I won't wait for you. I just went to the hospital for a physical checkup yesterday and rested at home for a day. Today I just run around pretending that I have nothing to do. The younger sister is very cruel, and she doesn't want to. Qian Yuman pointed out aggrievedly and innocently. Someone is following me. Following, Qi Lili quickly turned around and looked out the car window. Sure enough, she saw a figure hiding in the corner, her expression turned cold. Seeing that Qian Yuman's face was a little pale, he sighed slightly and his voice was a little softer. How are you? Do you want to take you to the hospital for a checkup? Qian Yuman shook his head. It's okay. I ran too fast, so I feel a little uncomfortable. I'll be fine after a while. The situation is not serious. It hurt a little when I first lay down. It is much better now and the pain is negligible. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 198. Chapter 198, My sister cares about her brother-in-law very much. In the next few days, you should stay at home and rest well, and take care of yourself before going out. You don't need to cook today. In the next week, I will ask the nanny at home to prepare nourishing soups for you to replenish your body. You are all going to be mothers, and you still have hair. Frizzy, please be careful next time. If you don't take care of your body, I still feel sorry for my little nephew. Chi Lili I taught Jian Yuman as sternly as an old woman, but her voice was no longer as cold as usual, but was instead in an uncharacteristically soft voice. Jian Yuman nodded, his expression extremely serious. I promise to obey Master Lei's orders and stay in bed for the next week to recuperate until my body is in great shape. Chi Lili I nodded with satisfaction and glanced at the stalker hiding in a corner. The car drove smoothly on the road, neither fast nor slow. There was always a car secretly following behind their car. Chi Lili I looked at her sister whose expression had returned to normal, but still did not choose to drive fast to get rid of the stalker. But instead of driving home directly, he took a detour and used corners and traffic lights to successfully drop his sister at a blind corner and let her hide in a restaurant. The other party didn't notice that Jian Yuman was no longer in the car, and then she drove quickly for a distance without getting rid of him. Chi Lili I got out of the car happily and arrived at a big hotel. The stalker who was following her was slightly surprised when she saw that the person who got out of the car was not Jian Yuman, but a cold and beautiful woman. When they saw Chi Lili's face, the person following Jian Yuman immediately recognized her identity. Isn't this Brother Feishan's fiancé? Sitting in the driver's seat was the man who was following Jian Yuman. Jian Yuman knew the person in the passenger seat, which was the reason why she was in a bad mood and had a bad temper with Tang Yuj. Chi Yuking's beautiful face was wrinkled. She immediately opened the car door and walked to Chi Lili's parked car. She looked around and found another person in the car. What about people? The man who was following me came over and saw that no one was in the car. He was so frightened that he kept apologizing. I'm sorry, miss, I don't know what happened. Maybe I got on the wrong bus. Following the wrong car? Is this the case? Chi Yuking fell into deep thought. She met Chi Lil by chance. Could it be that the tutor was actually Chi Lili? The two figures are very similar in stature. Then what is her purpose? Seducing the eldest young master of the Tang family while seducing the second young master of the Tang family. Kylie I walked into the hotel with a sarcastic smile on her face. She had been following the stalker's movements from the corner of her eye since she got off the car. After she entered the hotel, she hid in a corner and looked outside. Sure enough, she saw the identity of the person following them. When she saw the stalker, she immediately recognized the person as her brother-in-law's fiancé Chi Yuking. It turned out that she was stalking her sister. After she was sure who was following them, she turned and entered the hotel restaurant, ordered the pregnancy soup her sister needed, and then went out to pick up Jian Yuman. When she left the hotel, she did not see Chi Yuking again, so she felt relieved and drove to pick up her sister. She told her sister about Chi Yuking. Jian Yuman immediately talked angrily about what she had discovered today, as well as all her dissatisfaction and complaints against Tang Yuj, gritting her teeth as she spoke. As Chi Lili listened, the expression on her face became much gentler. Sister cares about my brother-in-law very much. Seeing that your relationship is so good makes me relieved. Jian Yuman was stunned and immediately looked at her sister as if she had seen a ghost. How do you know that our relationship is good? There are so many women around this bastard, and there is also a fiancé. I am so angry that I am going to die. I saw other readers calling the author Brother X and Sister X affectionately, and then I looked at my pen name. Brother Tien, not bad. Brother Xia, can you download songs? Brother Do, playing Daodu. Brother Bai, brother pretending to be cool, a little weird. Finally, I came to the conclusion that Juebai is more suitable for me. Spread your hands, to reward, roll, reward. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 199. Chapter 199 Mr. Tang's Resentment. Chi Lili smiled but said nothing, which was naturally evident from the expression on your face when you talked about Tang Yuj. If you were not worried or jealous, would your expression be angry but smiling? Angry and annoyed? The tone was reproachful, but also tinged with affection. Ouch, you don't know how to pull. Seeing her sister's meaningful look, Qian Yuman waved her hands in annoyance and pouted. Chi Lili still smiled lightly and did not argue with her sister, thinking that she was shy and embarrassed. But sister, you still have to pay attention to Chi Yuking, I'm afraid she will target you, Chi Lili reminded. She had only met Chi Yuking once before. Her first impression was that of an innocent girl next door who looked careless and smiled all day long with two cute pimples on her face. Judging from Chi Yuking's follow-up of Qian Yuman today, even if she didn't know that Tang Yuj and Qian Yuman were husband and wife, she would follow up and investigate the women who appeared around Tang Yuj. Making actions that don't match her appearance shows that her scheming is not simple. Qian Yuman rubbed her head a little irritably. She didn't want to mention Chi Yuking at all now. Whenever she thought of her, she thought of Tang Yuj's engagement with her, and she felt like a thorn stuck in her heart. The next day, there were no classes on Sunday. Qian Yuman stayed on the bed like a salted fish under the supervision of her sister. Even the classes for the next week were taken care of by her sister, who directly ordered her to have a good rest at home to raise her baby. Qian Yuman also enjoys leisurely life, and it would be nice to be a paralyzed salted fish at home. The next morning, Chi Lili walked out of the community and happened to meet Xian Ying, who came to play. Xian Ying shook his cute head and said with a smile while holding up the snacks in his hands. Sister Lili, where are you going? After this period of getting along, Xian Ying was able to tell who was the older sister and who was the younger sister based on their temperaments. When he saw Chi Lili, who had an indifferent face, he immediately recognized her as the younger sister. Chi Lili nodded indifferently when she saw Xian Ying, her eyes falling on the snacks in Xian Ying's hand. Don't always bring snacks to my sister. Eating too much is bad for your health. It's better to buy more supplements. During this period, Qian Yuman relied on Xian Ying to supply snacks at home. Qian Yuman, who loves snacks, can always eliminate many. Xian Ying looked at the snacks in his hands and thought seriously. But Xiao Qian likes it, and what Sister Lili said makes sense. If she eats too many snacks, Xiao Qian will get fat. If she gets fat, she will become ugly. If she becomes ugly, she will lose weight. If she loses weight improperly, it will be harmful to the body. Xian Ying and Chi Lili chatted for a few words and parted at the gate of the community. Xian Ying carried snacks and went to find Qian Yuman. Not far away, a pair of resentful eyes stared at Xian Ying, who entered the community. It was Tang Yuj, who had been squatting at the door early in the morning. It turned out to be Xian Ying. When did he appear next to Qian? When did we meet? It seems that the relationship is very close. He called Qian Yuman several times last night to explain the misunderstanding yesterday, but none of them were successful. In the end, he realized that he had been blocked by his wife. Unable to contact his wife, Tang Yuj was depressed to tears again. He came to look for her early in the morning, but was blocked by the guard. He wanted to go in to find his wife but couldn't. He saw Xian Ying happily entering the community. What a resentment in his heart. Seeing Xian Ying and Chi Lili chatting and laughing, and greeting the doorman familiarly when they entered the community, several doubts in his mind were solved. It turns out that the owner of the house where his wife lives is Xian Ying. No wonder he has never been able to find out who the owner is. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 200. Chapter 200 Old Hen's Sister. Tang Yuj glared fiercely at Xian Ying until he disappeared from sight, his eyes slightly narrowed as he looked forward, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, with a hint of evil in the smile. Chi Lili, I was thinking about something when suddenly a tall man appeared in front of her, blocking her way. She thought it was a man who was chatting with him, so she frowned slightly. "Sister," a man's voice with a flattering tone shouted to Chi Lili. Chi Lili was about to stare people away with her usual indifference. She raised her eyes and saw clearly the figure blocking her path, and was slightly surprised. The person blocking Chi Lili's path was none other than Tang Yuj. The smile on his face was flattering and his eyes were eager, and he only wanted to give her a warm hug. A few days ago, Tang Yuj was her boyfriend's eldest brother. These days, his identity has changed a bit, and he is her sister's newlywed husband. Originally he was going to follow Fei Chen and call him brother-in-law, but now it seems that he is going to call him brother-in-law. However, there is a misunderstanding between the man in front of him and his sister, and they are having a bad temper. "I'm not your sister," Chi Lil said coldly. Tang Yuj smiled indifferently and immediately changed his name sweetly. "Brothers and sisters." Hearing Tang Yuj's name, Chi Lili's expression softened slightly. Seeing that the flattery was successful, Tang Yuj said melancholy. "I have been calling your sister just now, but she didn't answer my call. I wanted to go in to find her, but the guard stopped me from letting me go. My dear brother and sister, you can take your brother-in-law and I will go in to find my wife, okay?" Dream Chi Lili's face darkened, she shook her head and walked around him. Tang Yuj immediately followed and blocked Chi Lili's way. In order to see his wife, Tang Yuj was as thick-skinned as a city wall and tried every means to please his wife and sister. "Good sister, please take me in. My wife is having a tantrum with me. We haven't gotten along for a long time. Now she has blocked my phone number. Please take me in and explain to her." Chi Lili looked indifferently at Tang Yuj, who was eager to explain in front of her, with a flattering tone, and lost the image of a handsome and noble young man when she first met him. I didn't expect that Tang Yuj would behave like this when facing his sister's matter. Even if he cares about his sister very much, there are some things that she, as the sister, must explain clearly to him. Chi Lili crossed her hands on her chest, with an indifferent expression and a critical tone to teach Tang Yuj. "I want to take you in?" "Why?" "Mr. Tang, I have already learned about the matter between you and my sister from her. You keep saying that it is a misunderstanding. Is your engagement with Chi Yuking a misunderstanding? My sister sees when Chi Yuking appears in front of her as your fiancé. How do you want my sister to look at her? Don't you know she will feel aggrieved? She is obviously your legal wife, but your Tang family only recognizes Chi Yuking as the future young mistress of the Tang dynasty. Even if she comes out to declare her status, what will happen? Can your family accept her identity? Why not join forces with that eldest lady Chi Yuking to bully my sister? I don't care what misunderstandings there are between you. In my opinion, before you have dealt with Chi Yuking's problem, don't even think about taking my sister home with you. She can't stand the trouble made by you guys. I have a deep understanding of how rich and powerful families are. Your complicated problems are not something that ordinary people like us can handle. Before you can handle them, don't add any trouble to our hearts." As long as it was about Jian Yuman, Chi Lili was like an old hen, protecting her sister behind her and not letting others bully her in the slightest. "I ran out to sign the house contract today. It was raining heavily outside, and I even got wet even under my umbrella. Woohoo. Then I took a taxi back. The driver turned on the air conditioner and blew it all the way back. My whole body felt bad. I feel dizzy. I took a long rest to recover. I am working hard to code. Although I really wanted to rest, I thought that the update time during this period was really bad, and I couldn't keep doing it like this, so I just gritted my teeth and typed. I must resume normal updates. I'm serious. Starting tomorrow." End of this chapter.